Well, Paulina, congratulations with Landman. You're closing 2024 with a bang.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking to me today, by the way. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to speak to you because your character is one of those that from the beginning is very strong. It's not like developing like softy and then finally getting to know her personality, but and I love it. It's so Latina.
No, I know. As soon as I read this, the one scene that I got was the very first scene that Ariana comes in episode 3. And even reading it, I was just like, there's so much to her. And I was just so eager to learn more. And here we are. And she's amazing. I love her so much.
And she impresses us in episode 4. Uh, so gutsy and just like setting her boundaries.
Definitely. I've always say like that scene when she's yelling at Manuel, my mom and my grandma came out. And that I was like, wow. Yeah, that scene was so much fun to shoot. Um just yeah, she doesn't take shit from anyone.
That's good. That's definitely good. Something we can also learn from. But tell me about what's about Landman, the one you're besides your character.
I mean, it's a Taylor Sheridan show. That immediately was something that was super cool. Um and also it being based in Texas and about the oil industry. I didn't know much about the oil industry and I grew up in Texas. And so I was just eager and being able to read, I think the first couple of scripts while I was auditioning, it was so captivating. The story was so captivating and there are so many wonderful characters in this. And also I knew early on that Billy Bob Thornton was attached to this project and I just thought that was super cool and it would just be amazing to be in the same room as all these amazing actors.
From what viewers have watched, I'm sure they can already sense that Ariana is going to have some meeting, sit down with the family, the Morris family. What can you share of that experience of, I mean, working, like you said, right now with Billy?
He's amazing. He is so down to earth and um he he really set the tone on set. And it really did feel like family. Um but he's so wonderful and has great banter. So behind the cameras, in between takes, we were always just sharing stories and just laughing and having a good time, which is very much needed for something that is so heavy, especially in Ariana's storyline.
That's one of the things I was going to say because your character from the beginning, she's a widow. I mean, there's nothing, zero enjoyment in that sound. So, how did you prepare to walk in and portray the sadness?
Listening to the podcast Boomtown by Christian Wallace gave me a little bit of insight. Um, Ariana was basically based on one of the real life families that had lost her husband and was also a young mother, and so listening to that podcast again gave me a little bit of insight on what it could be like to lose someone like that. It's absolutely devastating, and I mean, obviously, I've never experienced that, and I also don't have a baby, but it's it's very rough to put yourself in that situation to just even imagine for that happening. It's devastating, absolutely devastating. And I remember having those conversations with Taylor, and he was just like, Ariana's completely broken. And then here comes this boy that can actually make her laugh.
El Flaco.
Flaco. Yeah.
So at the end of the day, how did you shake off this broken character?
That's a great question. Music has always been something that is very powerful in my life, and so I there's this one artist that I was was and am completely obsessed with at the time, and I would listen to her album from front to back Her name's Ray. And the album is My 21st Century Blues. That I would listen to that. I would hop in the shower and I would just listen to that, and that would help me shake it off. But there's definitely there was things that I was carrying while we were shooting that I didn't realize that I was carrying with me, and it was just like the fear of losing someone from one day to the next absolutely terrified me. Um, and it still does, I think. And so that's something that I still carry with me. Um, and yeah, but I have a therapist, so we're discussing all of it.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things like the artist, most of the time artists are going through something, and yet their art is what's helping them and liberating. And so here you are bringing us Ariana that way.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, I, lost my grandma. How many years ago was it? In 2019, and it was something that she passed away, and a week later I had to be in LA for work, and so I didn't have the time to grieve. And I think a role like Ariana kind of forces you to dig into those emotions and resurface them. And it's very interesting. The body doesn't know, like when you're acting, your body doesn't know that what you're doing is fake, and sometimes your brain doesn't know either. Like your brain knows, but because you're tricking your body into it, there's that thing that you really do have to know how to pull out. And I think it's always doing things that like bring me joy, crocheting, listening to music. um, but but definitely every role that I've done has helped me grow. It's like therapy. It is therapy, and it helps me discover a new side of myself each time, which is quite beautiful.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Um, let's move on with a little bit about the dialogue that Ariana has, because I love how when she's speaking, she speaks facts and doesn't sugarcoat it, and it's real. Did you get a chance to add the Latina spice to it?
I mean, what's on the page is very very authentic, I feel. um I I don't even know. I think there was one scene that where she talks about her grandma and how her grandma told her that the way to stay young in her heart is, that scene. I didn't change up anything. I said pretty much what was on the page. I just changed it here and there to kind of fit Ariana in a way and how she would really express herself. But really, the Latinidad that is coming from her is within, not really what's on the page. It's her. But
It's
yeah,
the delivery.
yeah, it is. I feel like it is the delivery, and again, having that essence of all of the women who helped raise me. Um, and my dad has a lot of sisters, and so I I'm always a person that observes other people, and so being able to just like pick and choose who I want to put into Ariana really did. It was awesome.
Since you're an observer, you had a chance to observe very closely this talented cast. Is there some stuff that you're taking with you? You were like non-consciously probably already applying.
Oh my goodness. I
Learning has no limits.
Yeah, it has no limits. And again, I think just watching how connected everybody was is amazing. And again, it felt like family on set. All of us were so passionate about the stories we were telling and wanting to execute them. A fantastic cast and crew. Um, yeah, it was just it was nice. It was awesome getting to see people, the actors, kind of prepare um, right before they were doing their coverage, and like knowing like what was happening in their minds right before they did what they needed to do. So that was really cool being able to see. And there's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of similarities into how we approach our work, and there's also very different. There's a lot of differences too, and I think it's just beautiful that we're all able to create this. and have the support behind it.
And I'm sure you also have the support for some women that are the spouse, significant other has these jobs that are very risky. Maybe not working in oil rigs, but there's like fishermen, there's all sorts of jobs that are very dangerous, even military, that unfortunately do lose their loved ones during, fulfilling their job, their duty. So you're representing this big group of women. As a widow, you represent one that's very conflicted when it comes to feelings. Can you talk a
Mm.
little bit about that? Because I'm sure many will be able to relate.
Something that I don't think is talked about enough. Um, I think it's beautiful that we're able to share this story and represent women who have had lost their partners. Um, it's so it's a hard subject, but I really do believe that talking about it does heal, and there shouldn't be any tiptoeing around it. Because again, I think human connections, that's what heals, and at the end of the day, people just need to be listened to. Um, but I my my tia, she is a widow, and she, lost her whole family, and so it's not easy, and I think there's a part of you that never comes back from that.
There's an interesting scene that Ariana says to Cooper, you listen. You're
Mm-hmm.
not telling me what I should do, what I could do. And then it just kind of makes you think about it. And you're just like, you're right. Because a lot of times people don't really listen. They're listening.
No,
Listen.
yeah, I think that's why they're bonded, because they're both going through something that, you know, it's a kind of like a trauma bond. They're both going through something, and they're both being present and not judging each other in any way. And I think it is funny when something unfortunate happens, a lot of people are there to say like, "Oh, let me know what you need and I'm here for you." And then a week goes by, and then they're gone. Where are they? And so I think yeah, there's such a beautiful bond between those two. And yeah, Cooper never offers unsolicited advice. It's all very much pure.
Pure that stirs up the pot, but we will see.
Definitely.
So I got to watch a little more that people are going to be watching. I wish I could talk more about it, especially the sit down at the table, which was an incredible scene. How Ariana has pretty much got her ovaries, very well placed in front of the Billy's character, Tommy. I was like, wow, I was like, I'm impressed. I love this.
Oh my God, reading that scene, I was squealing. I was like, so good. This is so good, and I'm so excited. I'm like pinching myself that I am the one that's able, like I'm the one that's gonna say these words and bring them to life and kick Billy out of my house. That was really fun. That was such a fun scene.
I love it. And I love it how there was like the talk about food because that's big in Latin households. The food and introducing them. And I must have missed my part of my Mexican memo because I don't know what a choripo is or corunda. I was like, what is this? What did I miss?
Dude, we're on the same page. I was like, what is this? A lot of us on set, we were just like, what is this? Oh, they're like, oh, we call it this. And I'm like, oh, okay. So yeah, that was so fun. And the stew was actually very spicy, per Billy Bob Thornton's request. I
Really?
remember that very first take, I like tried the soup, and I'm like, oh, I can't be affected by this. I was like, I have all these lines that I need to say, but it was such a fun scene, fun and a little bit awkward in the beginning. The beginning time of it, we were just like passing the food around. Goodness, it was amazing. It was just so much fun.
I was shocked and so happy. I was like cheering. I'm just like, oh my God, she's ballsy.
Yeah. Yeah, she is. The more I got to explore her, the more I'm just like, I love this woman so much. And again, she's just a representation of all of the women in my life, all the Latinas. She is that.
Yeah.
Which makes me so proud.
Yes, me too. Well, I love it. Thank you so much for your time, Paulina. Congratulations with this, and I can't wait to finish the series and see the additional surprises. But I can't wait for people to watch that dinner scene because
Oh
it's,
my God. Thank you. Thank you so, so much for your time.
of course, you're welcome. Thank you, and Feliz Navidad.
Give me that.
Bye bye.